Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy!
That's me, Tiberius!
Today, we're going to talk about some very awesome stuff. We have a video about having a food fight at school, and we have a book about a Titanic, and we have a totally awesome guest. Today we have the one, the only, the amazing Mitchell Levy. Mitchell is a global credibility expert and a ghostwriter.
Tiberius, it is amazing to be with you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Today, we're going to start off with the video of the week, and this is going to be a splash.
And now it's time for the video game of the week.
Today's video game is Food Fight Simulator. This game is made by 2 Fathoms Games. Because it's on Roblox, you are able to play it on PC, Mac, Xbox, and even your cell phone. And it is free.
Sounds like a fun game to play.
You might remember 2 Fathoms Games from their other games, Laser Tag Simulator and Cruise Roleplay. But this is their most popular game. So first off, you appear in a hallway with a store, and on the left is a cafeteria on the right. You have to go...
I was going to say, your mom will prefer that you play this game versus doing it in your own kitchen.
That makes sense. You have a food item on your back, and you go into the cafeteria, and everyone's throwing food. This is fun. Then, when your health is all depleted, you respawn back in the hall. Okay, that's sad. When I turned around and saw something that said, target practice. Yes. This is like an obby that had like targets and that you had to hit it in a time limit. The faster you do it, the better you are. I did very well. I even got the badge for it, for getting the fastest time in the wild. Then as you get money for hitting people and doing the target practice, you can buy better and stronger food at the shop. They have stuff like cheeseburgers, donuts, slices of pizza, pizza kunais, and so much more. Each item has an attack value, and this in time it takes to throw.
Dude, you got me interested. I'm going to download after this.
Sweet. I give Food Fight Simulator 9 out of 10 stars because I had fun beating my dad at this game. I even got to get in the middle of the cafeteria and claim the King of the Hill spot. Everyone was trying to stop me. This was a great game to play with your friends.
This sounds like a fun game and safe. I like it.
Very safe. And now it's time for the book of the week, History Smashers, The Titanic. This book is written by Kate Messner. Leverage the back of the book. In fact, Mitchell, would you like to do the honors?
I would be honored. Myths, lies, secrets. Smash the stories behind famous moments in history and expose the hidden truth. On a cold night in April 1912, an unsinkable ship called the Titanic unexpectedly hit an iceberg and sank to the bottom of the North Atlantic. Right? Wrong. Nobody called the Titanic unsinkable until after it has sunk. And there were plenty of warnings about the ice. They were warned 4 times about the icebergs in the area. Discover the non-fiction series that smashes everything you thought you knew about history.
Nice. Well, this is an era book that is worth 3 points. It's rated for 6th grade and 9th month. This is a great series about myths and lies about history. So this book is pretty cool. They take a subject and follow it through history and find out all the misconceptions that people used to think about it. This one is about the Titanic and how it sunk. So the book starts off with the fact that no one had claimed that the Titanic was unsinkable, that there was a sister ship called the Olympus, which shared a lot of its crew back and forth. The book also talked about the fact that the person in charge on getting messages and giving messages to others told the ships that they were warning them about ice to shut up because they were interrupting the messages about helping passengers. Also, one guy dressed like a woman so that he could get onto the lifeboats that were taking women and children first. Because of the woman first policy, 3/4 of the women were saved, and only 1/5 of the men survived. I give History Smashers Titanic 10 out of 10 stars because it was a riveting story and I really liked learning about the Titanic. I really liked that the musicians were labeled heroes because they kept playing to keep the passengers calm while the ship was sinking.
Wow, so cool.
I hope all of them made it out alive. And now it's time for an interview of an interesting person. Today's guest is going to be so much fun. Today we have the one, the only, the amazing Mitchell Levy. Mitchell is a global credibility expert and a ghostwriter.
Tiberius, it's always fun. Your energy level is so powerful.
Thank you. So first off, how are you enjoying being on the show?
I'm enjoying seeing and experiencing the interactions of you and, of course, you and your dad.
Mm-hmm. So you are listed as a global credibility expert. Can you please explain to my listeners exactly what that means?
You know, I think what happens as the world keeps changing, as we're growing, we're learning, and particularly as the proliferation of the internet and information sources are feeding us things which aren't always right, but people are accepting it as being right, is we need to go back to some of the basics. We need to go back to what does it mean to look somebody in the eye and shake their hand and say you're going to do what you're going to say you're going to do. Mm-hmm. We need to be able to have more love and more affection to others. We need to be able to live in a world where we want to have other people to play with. And so a global credibility expert is someone who is looking at the rules that we play by, looking at some of the ideas that companies and individuals focus on, and giving a perspective of, hey, does that make sense? Or what I like to call the opposite of credible is dubious. Letting people know that some of the things they do could be and end up being dubious.
So how did you get interested in becoming a credibility expert?
You know, I believe my entire life I've focused on different aspects of credibility. But what I ended up doing is interviewing 500 thought leaders between, I know, crazy, right? Between 2019 and 2020, I went on, I don't know if you know a guy by the name of Napoleon Hill. He wrote some amazing work.
Never heard of him.
And thank you for sharing. Makes me feel nice and old. And what's interesting is he interviewed 500 millionaires and came up with a book, Think and Grow Rich. So I went on a Napoleon Hill journey to have a book on credibility and interviewed 500 thought leaders. And I was doing it just so I felt comfortable with my title. I ended up getting a whole lot more.
So how long have you been doing this?
Let's see. I would say, well, I've been in business on my own since 1997. So I've been an entrepreneur. I've run 20 odd companies since 1997. On the credibility side, well, we'll start book publishing. I started in 2005. On the credibility side, it was 2019 that I started doing the interviews, and officially I became someone focused on credibility towards the end of 2020. So relatively new.
Wow. So why do people need to hire a credibility expert?
You know, we have so many marketing cookie cutter approaches that people follow. They're not necessarily bad or wrong, but they're not understanding why they're not relating to the audience. They're not understanding why the people that should be attracted to them are not. Because you've got all this social media and all this junk out there. And so what you want to be able to do is have somebody cut through the marketing crap and focus on what is important. What do we really see here? How do we throw away the marketing cookie cutter stuff? And how do we focus on just the basic block and tackle? You're a good person. I'm a good person. Let's do business together. Or you're a good company. I want to work for this company.
I'm a good company.
That sort of thing.
It's kind of like
I think
Sprint
you are.
and T-Mobile. It's like, you're a good company. I'm a good company. Let's work together, but keep my name.
Well, see, maybe that's not the right way to go, but I hear you.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, I'm buying you. Thank you very much. So how did you know that this was a go-to job for you?
I let some people will say it's God send. I use the name Gus for God, universe, spirit, and some people just say serendipity. And so most of my life, when I've looked at what I've done and I've looked at significant turning points, some opportunity presented itself, and I listened. And so in this particular case, I was changing how my book publishing company was going to work. That's when I went into ghostwriting. So we'll talk about that later. So I was changing the way my company was going to work, and I realized I needed a new brand. And so I came up with a brand, Global Credibility Expert. And then I wanted to have, are you ready? Credibility. I wanted to have credibility being this person. And that's why I started doing the interviews for the book. It just turns out that the facts from the interviews changed who I was and gave me an entirely new life purpose.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
So how does being a credibility expert make the world a better place?
I have something that I'd love to share. Let me see if I can actually share this on my screen. This particular slide right there is my lifetime purpose, is to tip the scale between those in the world that are credible and those that are dubious. And your dad will probably notice, and many other people who are listening will notice that the world isn't as fair as it could be. We don't always do things which are proper. We don't always look at humans and give people the benefit of the doubt. We have all these movements focused on equality and the types of things where some people are treated poorly just because their race or their color or their age. And so credibility and a credibility expert is someone who, and what I do, what I care about is that when somebody comes to the table, when you're in the room, that if you want to be heard, people hear you. And so that's my bigger thing in life, is to tip the scale between credible and dubious, to be able to have, and now we're talking about, I need to talk to billions of people, and Tiberius, you're helping me get somewhere there. So thank you.
So how does being a credibility expert make the world a better place?
I think it's simply, when I'm sitting on my deathbed, and this is always one way to look at life, and I go, what am I proud of? I'm proud of my family. I'm proud of my friends, and I will be proud of tipping the scale between those people in the world who act dubiously, and they act more credible today, and that will make the world a better place.
Well, does it take a lot of formal training to become a credibility expert?
So I'm going to answer the question in a different way, but the answer is yes, but not necessarily formal. There's some formal training that we need, whether it's high school, college. I have a master's degree, but really, I call it the PhD in the School of Hard Knocks. The people who are credible, the people who I really trust to do what they say they're going to do, have practiced it, have done it, have so much experience. For instance, how many interviews have you done so far? Ish.
About 220.
So do you feel differently at 220 than you did at 200, or that you did at 20, or than you did at 2?
Much different.
To me, that's that PhD you have in the School of Hard Knocks. And so there's some amount of training in a particular space. And then there's the going after your dreams and just executing and providing value to your clients. In this case, I'm your client, you're interviewing me and you're showcasing me, and I appreciate being here. And it's doing that more and more. And, as time goes by, and you've already done this, the segments that you have, pretty cool. How you get excited about stuff, pretty cool. And then as your audience starts talking to you, you're going to integrate some and move some away. And that's, once again, that's that PhD in the School of Hard Knocks.
So what is the best part about doing this type of work?
I'm as enthusiastic about what I do today as it appears you are about what you do. I don't, you use the word work in a sentence. I actually don't really work. I've never worked. If I love what I do, I'm playing, and I get to play all the time. And my wish, and one of my first TED talk, at the end of the TED talk, I basically say if work equals play, then you get to play all the time. My wish is that people don't spend their entire life doing work, but rather they do what they love doing. They're providing value for others, and they're getting paid for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, what is that one thing that when you started to work in this field that you did not expect?
Probably, I think the thing that blew me away, the thing that I just didn't understand is as I was interviewing the 500 people. Now, when I was interviewing people, I was interviewing people who were well known in their field. Typically, they're called thought leaders. So I was interviewing thought leaders. I've interviewed 500, now 670,
Wow.
and 98% of the people I interviewed could not articulate, are you ready, who they served and how they served them in 10 words or less. So some people might call that their purpose or their business purpose. 98% could not clearly articulate their purpose. That blew me away.
Wow. That's cool.
To me, that was both cool because it's so powerful, but also
Yeah.
scary because I'm like, it was interesting to me. So what I will tell you, Tiberius, I now have a superpower of helping people articulate their purpose in that way, and I find it's really easy for me. It's very simple and easy for me. It's not always simple. It doesn't mean easy for everybody, but I believe I could teach people how to do this. And if I could teach other people how to do this, what that means is there are things we have not been taught. And so that's why part of why I'm part of doing this global credibility expert is there are just some things that we've not been taught we're not taught in school throughout the K through 12. We're not taught in college. There's some things of just common human dignity, common human interaction that we're just not taught. And some of those, and probably the most important is, can you explain to me when I'm talking to another business person?
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain to me in less than 5 seconds what is that playground you play in? And that's really the way I focus. I want to bring work back to play and make it easy for people to share what they do with other people.
Wow. What is the hardest part about being a global credibility expert?
Huh. Oh, by the way, for those who are watching this, I'm a visual thinker. So when I look up, I don't have a cheat sheet on the wall. It's just me going to my brain. And I know you provided the questions and they were ahead of time, but I'd much rather be in the movement than actually than trying to memorize what to say.
Mm-hmm.
I think the hardest part about being a global credibility expert is that everybody thinks they're already credible. Right. And I'll explain that a little further. I did a survey on LinkedIn and I asked people, how many of you have an accountability partner? By the way, just to be clear, as a definition, accountability partner is somebody who helps you do what you do. Your dad, in terms of producing this show, is an accountability partner to you, right? If you wear two fedoras at once, he's going to say, Tiberius, let's not do that, right? If you do something funny, he might say, okay, do something too funny, say, hey, let's do a reshoot. Accountability partner, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I asked people, how many people have a coach or a family member as an accountability partner, or they do it themselves, or do they not care? Well, 3% said they don't care. Those are people I want to hang out with. 61% said that they did it themselves. So Tiberius, 61% is a large number. And so I realized, at least I thought, this is why I love what I do. I'm like, I asked the wrong question. Let me ask a different question. So I did another survey. And the survey was, of all the people that you work with, of all your partners, how many people do you work with say what they're going to do and do what they say? To me, the common definition of integrity, that being accountable is having integrity. And by the way, having integrity is being credible, or at least a part of it, right? So the results came back and only 10% of the of those respondents, 10% said that 100% of people they work with have integrity, have accountability. And I'm thinking there's a disconnect. If 61% of people say they do it themselves, but only 10% actually are good at what they do, say what they're going to do.
And there's 3%. Well,
And
that's
3% that don't care.
74%. Well, where did the other 26% go?
Well, I could actually walk through those numbers for you if you like. And bring me back if you want me to. What it means is, and those were two different surveys, so they're not really additive functions. What it means is we, in our heads, our ego tells us it's okay to promise stuff, and if we don't deliver, we justify that we didn't promise it. And to me, that's not credible.
Okay. Well, what advice would you give to my listeners if they wanted to go up and be a global credibility expert?
This will be funny. Listen to your mom and your grandma, because they gave you these rules of life to play by and be a good human and be a good friend and be supportive of others. And then, of course, we get into the workforce and we kind of forget those rules. I think I'm reminding people what mom and grandma used to say.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like when your grandma sneaks you a little bit of money and then mom catches you. I'll take that. I'll hold it for you.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, I remember
yeah,
that.
I'm not sure about that.
I'm not sure it's the right fit. I'm going to say, how do you prepare? I would say be a good listener. Be empathetic, right? Make sure when you're listening to somebody, actually hear not just what they're saying, but how they're feeling as they're talking.
Okay.
When you're looking at two parties interacting with each other, did one person take advantage of the other? You mentioned the merger before, right? It's the global credibility expert is the person who wants to have common human dialogue, just the type of exchange that we have with each other where the right thing happens, right? That one of the problems we have in the world today is people watch one news source from one particular location and they get convinced that something's right when it may not be right. Mm-hmm. Thank you. I finally walked into how I want to answer this question. I'm going to use a word. The word I'm going to use is discerning. And so discerning means if somebody tells you something, you should be asking yourself, is this really true? And then, you have at your fingertips. Everyone has a computer in the phone. Everyone has, well, maybe not 11. It's hard to say, but
I
can't remember.
But
oh, good. I can't remember when my son got his phone, but I'm pretty sure it was there. So most people have at your fingertips a computer, and if somebody gives you a piece of information, why don't you Google it or whatever search engine you use and see multiple sides so that you can discern, you can look at it and make sure you're hearing the right information. You're making up your own decision. You want to move towards the direction of being a credibility expert. That's really what you're doing.
Okay. So my dad said that you are also a ghostwriter. Can you explain what that means?
So I'm going to step back and say there are different types of ghostwriters, right? So there's one type of, I don't know how many, so I can't give you a number. So one type of ghostwriter, you say what you want and they do all the writing and you have no involvement. That's not what I do. Another type is that they sit with you and they do an interview like you and I are doing right now, and they take the transcript from the interview and they turn that into a book, right? So they're ghostwriting by the interview process. That's not me either. So let's do the third type. The third type says, what do you want the book to accomplish? What's the end goal? Because the end goal, when I work, I typically work with business people who are using their book for credibility to be able to do more. The more might be they want more speaking, they want more consulting, they want opportunities to reach out to companies to let them know they have credibility in the space. So I'm going to first ask, what do you want to accomplish?
Okay.
And then we'll sit down for an hour and I will come up with them a title and a table of contents.
Okay. So you don't get to scare anybody as a ghost?
I don't get to scare anyone. Well, sometimes I scare them, but not quite as a ghost. because what happens when we create the book, we're creating the book with them of where they want to go. And after doing the title and table of contents, we do an interview. And in doing the interview, sometimes what comes out of it is scary for the people because that means they need to change who they are to something else. And as you know, change is not something that everyone's excited about.
Mm-hmm. Why do people need to hire a ghostwriter instead of writing it themselves?
Well, first, the age-old answer of time versus money. If you have zero money and lots of time, you write yourself. Now, not everyone can write themselves, so they need help.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, if money is not really an object and time is something that's more precious to you, the reason you hire a ghostwriter is simply because they're going to save you time. When we help somebody become an Amazon international best-selling author, we do it in 6 months, and they have spent 10 hours or less, right? So we save a lot of time. You hire a ghostwriter when the ghostwriter can help you get to a place you couldn't have got to yourself, and you don't, either because you don't have the ability to do it or you don't have the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But if time and money, a lot of times for the first book, I'd like to encourage people to write it themselves because then they get to feel the energy, they get to feel how hard it is, they get to appreciate the ghostwriter that works with them.
Mm-hmm. Do most people have a good story to tell?
I'm going to say, can I say yes? And everyone has a good story to tell.
Now, you have written a ton of books for your other people, and even some for yourself. Which book did you enjoy the most?
I always think I love the latest books that I'm working on. I absolutely enjoyed the one I did called Credibility Nation, which is behind me. I think, it's so interesting. I love learning and growing. So that one right there. Wait, that one right there. I love learning and growing with people. I'm going to share a couple books on the screen. I got to do a book with Dr. Terry Jackson. And what was fascinating is we actually co-created the book together. And so now when I say I work with somebody, I don't say I ghostwrite for other people. I say we co-create a book together. Right? So he completely changed my mindset, my thought, my thinking process. I'm going to say a book that that you and your dad should read is, and I know this is sort of business book, but it's having situational awareness to be aware and cognizant of what happens in any situation. And so I love this book by Brian Searcy. The thing that, and by the way, you'll love this book. This was fun to create. I love the title. For businesses slapped in the face by a world they didn't know. This just happens over time as life changes. The thing I'm going to say is, the book I'm writing right now with a guy by the name of Lucas Root is elements of community. How do you create community where people really, with a company, they're a community together, they're a community with a bunch of friends. You really are a community. And we're inventing, lots of companies think they have communities. We're actually inventing the words and the thought processes that I believe companies will be living by going forward. And so it's in this creation process, I'm having as much fun as the co-author. And actually, I'm not, as a ghostwriter, I don't get credit on the book, but I have created as a lot of content that's part of it. And to me, that's a lot of fun. I enjoy it.
Okay, so I noticed that you and I wear the same style of hat. Why did you select the fedora as what you wear all the time?
Well, it technically wasn't me. I love fedoras. And if you, hopefully this will be in the show notes. I did an 8-minute video on YouTube. I've got a channel called Credibility Nation, and I answer credibility questions in 10 minutes. So I answer 1 or 2 questions a week in 10 minutes. I did an entire show on why I wear the fedora. And if I'm going to summarize, we were going to Paris. So for 22 years, we've gone to Europe, and we've rented a house for a month and invite friends and family. So about 6 years ago, we were going to Paris, and my wife walks into my office, and she's holding a fedora. Now, at the time, I wore baseball hats all the time, and she goes, "Honey, we're not going to be one of those stupid Americans that wear a baseball cap in Paris. And she was holding the fedora, and I go, yeah, I try to by the way, good advice for you as you get older. Don't ever argue with your wife because they're always right. And
I know,
so,
I know that. Trust me. My mom,
mom is always right. Yeah. It's great how that works. And you ever see your dad argue with your mom and you know he's not going to win?
Yeah. I know
So-
that. It's like, she wants to go to a jump park. That way I can go jump. And she won't because she doesn't like to jump. My dad wants to go somewhere where we could all do something.
Nice.
Mom won.
You know, it's amazing. So in this case, my wife won. And when I was in Paris, I do post on Facebook, but most of the time it's a lot of business stuff. It's some personal. But when I go to Europe for a month, I post every day. By the third day, the people who were watching me, the people I don't normally hear from, started talking about how much they love the fedora. That
So it was your comment section.
That's now the new uniform, and I love wearing it. And it turns out it fits really well with a credibility expert.
Wow. What was the biggest mistake you ever made? And how did it change you as a person?
You know, I realized that I wanted to answer this question on the fly and see what popped in my mind. And I'm going to say the biggest mistake was accepting as a male mentor my first boss when I got out of school. Because he was one of those guys that was narcissistic, hedonistic. He was one of those guys that cared more about himself and the world needed to revolve around him. And what I'm going to say is scary. I was only with him for a year. He was with me for 36 years. And it took me a lot of time to unlearn those negative lessons that he taught me. And I can't say I made a mistake because I was just following my heart. If I didn't actually follow him to where he was, I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't be in the position I am today. So I'm not going to say it's a mistake. I will say that the ability that he affected my life did change the trajectory in a way that wasn't as positive as it could have been. But then again, I may not be the global credibility expert today if I didn't do things exactly the way they actually happened.
All right. Well, do you play video games? And if you do, what's your favorite one?
I love Pokemon Go.
Uh-huh.
And so I've been playing for about 6 years. I have 3 accounts. I'm typically walking around with 3 phones because, you know, with Pokemon Go, you could have 3 different colors, red, blue, yellow. And I decided I didn't want to choose. So I just got 3 different phones and I use each. And
That's
so
hilarious. I picked blue.
Do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite, I think, at the moment is the one I use most is red, but my originally started as yellow.
So what is your favorite book to read that you have not written?
By the way, I did notice that you've not written. I'm trying to think about my most favorite book ever. I'm going to say a book that affected me a lot at the right time. There's a book called Selling the Wheel. And it's this hypothetical book about what happened when the person invented the wheel and how they got the world to actually get excited about it. And he ended up hiring 4 different types of salespeople, and they talked about what a salesperson does. And what was interesting is at the time, I think I was naive enough to think that a salesperson was a salesperson, right? And he gave the opportunity for me to think about the different types of salespeople and when they were needed at different stages of a product evolution. And that book has stuck with me for a long time.
Okay. Now can you tell me that one story? You know, remember, this is a kid show. But that one story, well, that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on, you can tell me.
You know, I think I don't know if this is hilarious. I'm just going to say, as a dad, there's one thing that I did that I'm very proud of. is, oh, okay. I got it. Thank you. Okay, it took me a second to find this one.
You
What I
are
did as a
just fine.
dad is there were, I basically told him, and this was before I was wearing fedoras. I said, his name's Duncan. I said, Duncan, I'm going to wear two hats. I'm going to wear the dad hat and I want to wear the friend hat. And there's times you want to go to your friend and ask questions, and I didn't have that when I was young, so let me offer that to you. And he would occasionally come to me and said, "Hey, Dad, I need to talk to the friend. Do you mind?" And my only response was, "Well, if you tell me something I need to tell Mom, I will." And generally, he was okay. And one of the things that happened is we actually always said to Duncan, "Listen, call us up anytime. Anytime you have a problem, anything going on." And I think he was probably 15. He went to a party. And about an hour later, we got a call, and it was, "Dad, can you pick me up and pick up a couple of our friends?" And we're like, "Huh?" Because he was normally not going to come home so quickly. And what happened is the parents of the kids that the house was having the party, they were not there. And the cops came, and he was calling for me to pick him up and his three friends and take them home. And we said, "Listen, anytime, no problem." And so what was really fascinating, Joe Boy, this is for you, by the way, I'm sharing this, is first of all, they go, "Okay, can you take us home?" As a matter of fact, we don't really want to go home. We were going to stay overnight at the party. Can you take us to this park? And and, and my answer is no, I can't take you to the park. But if you want me to take you anywhere besides our house, which you're going to sleep the night, I could take you to your house, but I'm going to need to knock on your doors and let your parents know. And they go, "No, we could come at your house." And I go, "Who likes In-N-Out Burger? Can I take you for a burger?" Because at the time, Tiberius, if I was going to ask them what happened, I'd almost get responses. So instead, I brought them all to In-N-Out Burger. And as they were eating their burgers and even waiting in the line for In-N-Out Burger, I heard the entire story, more than potentially a dad wanted to know. So I put on my friend hat of what happened, who did what, who jumped what fence, what things happened. And, and of course, the really cool part is I knew when I brought him home, I think it was three boys and one girl. I knew when I brought him home that my wife would not have a problem, that she would just go, "Oh yeah, honey, I'm glad you did this." And I think, so the thing is, if you want kids to talk, you don't ask, you buy them In-N-Out Burger and then they'll talk about it.
Okay.
Did that work?
I don't know because I've never eaten In-N-Out. But is there anything else you think my listeners should know about you?
I love partnerships. I am very interested. One of the things I'll share is when 98% of people can't articulate who they are and how they serve, I've come up with a new word. It's called CPOP, Customer Point of Possibilities, and I have a course for that. And for those companies that are credible, for those schools that want to share it, I will gift you that course. And we, use it free for a year. If you decide to use it, you can pay for it afterwards. My goal is to share credibility. So send people to the YouTube channel called Dear Credibility Expert. As a matter of fact, Tiberius, I'd love it at some point in time, if you have a credibility question, create a 30-second video asking the question, and then I'll answer it in 10 minutes for you on the YouTube channel. And so
Sweet.
I think my end goal of tipping the scale between credible and dubious, it's not that I don't talk about it, but this means talking to billions of people. And I'm going to tell you, I need your help. I need all of our helps to bring about a world that we're going to be proud for our kids and our grandkids to grow up in.
Okay. Well, do you have a website or Facebook for my listeners who want to follow you?
I have many different pages. So the probably the best place to start is to go to mitchelllevy.com. And there I've got access to all of my pages. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I just started my TikTok channel. I know I'm a little late to the game there. On TikTok, it's the Mitchell Levy. On LinkedIn, it's Mitchell Levy. On Facebook and Twitter, it's Happy About, because that's the name of one of my first book publishing companies, is Happy About, and I just stuck with it. And so, but I think if you go to mitchelllevy.com, it'll point you to all the places that make sense.
What is that one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
This is my favorite question in an interview because it gives the guests the ability to ask any question they want. Tiberius, I think you did a really amazing job, particularly since I had you change some of the question partway through. So I loved the interview and the insight you were able to grab. So I'm going to ask you the question that I'll also respond to. And the question is, okay, at 11 years old, you have an idea potentially of what you want to do, where you want to go. Why don't you talk a little bit? Who do you want to be as you get older and as you grow? Who do you want to be? And out of there'll be a question that I'll respond to.
An esports gamer.
Ooh. Are you going to stream?
Probably. And I'll go to these little esports tournaments, and you can play professionally, play video games. I'm good at those. So yeah, that's what I want to be when I grow up.
I love that. And so I have to, so thank you for that's a perfect and a great question. And my son, who's 24, he'd like to do that too. Not necessarily esports, but he'd like to be a streamer as well for the games that he plays. And what I'm going to say is you need to continue to learn. You need to continue to grow. You need to be, in my mind, you need to be someone who's credible, and you need to find a place, find a location where you can make money to basically pay the bills, and hopefully you love and enjoy what you do. If you can actually do the streaming stuff in a way that it pays your bills and allows you to live the lifestyle you want to live, then I'm going to say you should. There's nothing stopping you, and there are many opportunities for people to do that. The cool part about you is you're starting your audience and you're starting to build now. But don't forget the importance of some amount of formal education, and then getting your PhD in the School of Hard Knocks and figuring out how can you fund the thing that you really want to do. Because I'm with you. If work equals play, we can play all the time. And that's a great sort of, are you ready? Profession that you could play with all the time.
Well, thank you, Mitchell, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
I would love to.
So you want to make an ad for your company, right?
Yeah, Tiberius, you want to help me?
Okay, so what's the name of the company?
PPWND.
PP what?
Professional Pressure Washing and Detailing.
So you clean driveways?
Yeah, like that. We pressure wash commercial buildings and semi-truck and trailers.
So how would someone get a hold of you?
They can visit my site at ppwnd.com or call me at 407-900-7793.
So I just tell them to call you at 407-900-7793 or visit ppwnd.com?
Yeah, Tiberius, you got it.
Cut! That's a wrap! Just use that! Tiberius' favorite subject, it's Math Corners!
Thank you, Mitchell, for helping me with Math Corners. This week, we're going to do some more multi-step word problems. I love showing me how math can be used in the real world. Today, we're going to talk about time.
Time is important.
It is. Here we go. Sue and her sister watched an action movie that was 2 hours and 30 minutes long. After the movie, they played soccer in the backyard for 30 minutes. When they came in from playing soccer, it was 12:45 p.m. What time did Sue and her sister start watching the movie?
Do you want me to answer this, or do you want to keep going?
I'll let you answer after I actually say the answer. Or you can tell me if you were right, okay? How about that?
That sounds fair.
Okay, now I'll explain it. So this is a real world situation because people do love to watch movies and play soccer, but not sure that they like to do all that before lunch. But let's try this anyway. So first we have to find out the total time that they were doing stuff. The movie was 2.5 hours, and the soccer was half of an hour, so that's a total of 3 hours. So now I have to subtract the 3 hours from the time that they got in. So 12 minus 3 is 9. And remember, it was right before lunch, so that PM switches to AM. So it'll be 9:45 a.m. That is really early to start a movie. Shouldn't they be in school?
Is it a weekday or a weekend?
I don't know, because I did not include that in the question. So, Mitchell, do you ever watch movies in the morning?
I'm gonna say yes, and I work for myself, so I can work or I can play anytime. But whenever we start movies in the morning, we feel like we're playing hooky, even if it's a weekend.
So, Mitchell, my teacher said that I would use math every day. Do you use math in your job?
It is amazing how. So your teachers were right. So I told you I interviewed 500 thought leaders on credibility. I used all these statistics and probability and lots of math to keep track of what people were doing and be able to present it in a way that people understood. So the answer is yes, all the time.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Mitchell, for your help with Math Corners.
Oh, always my pleasure. Thanks, Tiberius.
And now it's time for the Heart of a Lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the Heart of a Lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and nobility. This week, we're going to talk about integrity. For me, I think integrity is doing what is right even when no one else is looking. The qualities of integrity is honesty, sincerity, truthfulness, and fairness. So this week, I was at the office hours at my school. This is a study time where we can do our homework or study for future tests. Some of the boys were playing a video game and asked me to join them. Now, you know I love video games, and the teacher was grading papers and not paying attention. I could have went ahead and, played, but I did what was right, and I told him that I wanted to study. That is having integrity and doing what is right even when the teacher was not looking and grading papers. So, Mitchell, did you see or use integrity at all this week?
Integrity, there are 10 values of credibility, and integrity is 2 of the 10 values. It's your external integrity, like how you show up in the world, and your internal integrity. And the answer is absolutely. Mm-hmm. It is core for doing business and doing the things that are right. It's telling people what you're going to do and doing what you say. And unfortunately, there's somebody on my team who actually said they were going to do something and didn't. And so that lack of integrity is something that we're going to be talking about. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem. And I think you want to show up well in the world. Do nothing more than keep your promises. Say what you're going to do and do what you say. And you're going to be a step ahead of so many other people.
Mm-hmm. Of all of the Heart of a Lion virtues, which virtue do you see the most?
They are all really good. I think I agree with you. I'm not as excited about obedience. I like leadership. I think it's leadership and integrity are my 2 favorite. I don't think one should have nobility just because that's their name or their title. And obedience makes sense, but within character, within promise. So leadership is doing the right thing and helping people out, and integrity is saying what you can do and do what you say. So I'm going to go for the LI. I'm going to go for Lee. The leadership and integrity are my 2 favorite.
We should always try and be lion strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
Oh, absolutely. I agree.
The Tiberius Show would like to thank one of their dedicated sponsors, Custom Designs Orlando. These guys are on Mills Avenue and do all sorts of stuff, ranging from photo ID badges, engraved signs, custom braille ADA signs, vinyl lettering to trophies and awards. The cool part about Custom Designs is they can ship products all over the United States. You can reach them at 407-898-0373 and tell them that
Tiberius
sent you.
And that's our show, folks. I want to thank the one, the only, the amazing Mitchell Levy for being on my show. It has been so much fun talking to you today. I think we learned a lot about being a global credibility expert and building your reputation.
Tiberius, I am so honored to get a chance to meet and interact with you and your dad. And I'm so looking forward to seeing what both of you do as time goes by. And thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Do you mind giving your website?
Not at all. Probably the best way, mitchelllevy.com. And then you could search on Mitchell Levy on any social media platform. And by the way, for those that are TikTokers, I just started that. It's the Mitchell Levy.
Cool. Also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show. And please be sure to visit The Tiberius Show on YouTube and like and subscribe. Also, be sure to listen to us next week on The Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy!
Thanks, Tiberius. Have a good one, man.